Hey, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. And today I want to talk just briefly about the knife to take deer hunting. This is a question I get quite a bit this time of year. I have a lot of friends and colleagues and family members who hunt, and they know I'm into knives, and they'll often say, "Well, what are you going to take? What should I take?" And as you know, like hunting stuff is stupidly expensive. And one of the things that kills me about all of this is you look at these hunting sets that are designed specifically for, gutting deer, and oh man, some of them, the steel is cheap, crappy steel, and there's nothing there's nothing that justifies the cost other than they're specifically for hunting, so it needs to be quadruple the price. Anyway, that's a bit of an aside. Let's first off talk about folders. Am I going to have a folder in my pocket when I'm deer hunting? Yes, I always have a folder in my pocket, no matter what I'm doing. Am I going to use that folder to, you know, reach inside the deer carcass and, cut the esophagus? Probably not. Do I want to get, a bunch of blood and hair and whatever else into the action of my knife? No. Yeah, I mean, will any of these knives do that job? Of course they will. They're all fine. You can get the job done with anything you see here and about 100 other things that I could think of. But do I want to, right? In a world where fixed blades exist and where I've got access to lots of them, why would I take a knife that's gonna, now I've got, mostly this is just because I'm lazy. I'm not interested in, spending time cleaning out my folder to get the blood out of it and the hair out of it and whatever else out of it, making sure it's dry, making sure nothing rusts, whatever like that. I'm just not interested in doing that. So, I could have any one of these in my pocket or something altogether different. It's not going to be the knife I use to gut the deer. All right. I know I've had comments before. I remember the last time I said this. I don't think I was talking about deer at the time, but someone put in the comments, "It's called the 110 Hunter, for crying out loud." Of course it's for hunting. And I'm like, yeah, because they always name knives exactly what they're meant for. And I mean, again, it'll do the job. I'm not suggesting that it won't, but when I have access to a fixed blade, of course I'm going to use one. Now, is this the most perfect fixed blade for skinning? No, and I probably wouldn't use it for that. But then for gutting a deer, really anything will work. And I've had this with me quite a number of times. I think this is the knife I've used most. In fact, one time I even used it quite dull and had a little bit of a struggle with it. Nonetheless, the reason I like this is it's fairly short. I can get my whole hand kind of over it to get some control when I'm up inside the carcass. The other thing is the handle is robust and feels good. I do have a question for you. I'd love to hear down in the comments. Are you gloves or no gloves? Do you throw a pair of, like medical gloves or latex gloves on before you start messing with the blood and the guts and everything? Or do you just go in barehanded? I've done both. I try to have gloves if I think about it. It's just, it's a little cleaner. Again, I'm lazy, so anything that makes my job a little easier, I'm going to do it. And gloves definitely make the cleanup afterward a little bit easier. The other question I've got for you is, what organs do you keep? I definitely enjoy the heart. Um, I'm not a liver guy of any kind, so I'm not keeping the liver. I know, there's a whole discussion, and guys really want to use every single bit of that animal. And so, what's your guys' approach to it? What do you use? What do you not bother using? What about the pelt? Do you keep it? Do you process it, or do you just get rid of it? And finally, do you do your own butchering? Do you butcher the animal yourself? Or do you send it off to a butcher? So I'd love to hear all that stuff down in the comments. For myself, I usually just bone the deer out myself. The only, I kind of take all the roasts out. There's a little bit of extra meat. I throw that all in a Ziploc bag. I save it until pork goes on sale. Then I'll add a little bit of pork and some fat and make that into sausage usually. That's kind of my process. So I'd love to hear yours. In the meantime, we are talking about knives. So what other knives would work well for this? Well, frankly, lots of them. Um, not everything. I just finished lamenting that hunting stuff is stupidly expensive many times. The Kaiser Harpoon, just a nice little, easily controllable, rather slicey fixed blade. This would do the job just fine. Again, this wouldn't be my go-to for butchering, but If it's just the knife that you're going to use to gut the deer in the woods, hey, you're good to go. Hinderer Emmet certainly has a more hunter Skinner style design, and has that big belly out front. It's a little thinner behind the edge, so again, nice fine point. This also, the harpoon also has a nice fine point for that kind of detail-y type stuff. So all of these will do the trick just fine. If you really want to go cheap, would a Mora do the job? Yeah, of course it would. Fine. Is it meant for that? Not really, but can it get it done? Sure. Okay, so those are lots of good little options there, and one of these are the kind of knife that I'm going to have with me in the bush when I'm hunting, anticipating that I'm going to take a deer and need to gut it right there in the bush. Now, are there some knives I wouldn't take? Yeah, absolutely. All right. All of these I would be totally happy with. I wouldn't complain in the least. However, there are some fixed blades that I have that I wouldn't want to take with me. Hold on, where did I put the sheath for this one? Oh, there we go. Sorry, guys. I'll give just a couple of examples before we wrap this video up. Just move them more to the side. So I've got a Lion Steel T6 here. I did a video on this recently that was terribly edited, and I thought about taking it down and re-editing, but I actually meant to do that, but I just didn't get around to it. So now it's been like a week. Everyone who wants to see it's probably seen it. So it's just going to stay with the bad editing. I think I literally recorded the same content 2 times in different locations and just put them all in the video. Anyway, yeah, this is too big. This is not going to be, imagine trying to fit this up inside a deer. Just not practical. So that's not something I'm going to take. Even something like this. I've got the Steel Will Roamer. Very budget friendly knife. And I mean, I guess you could get the job done with either one of these, but they're not going to be ideal for what you're trying to do. And so when you've got better options, why not use the better options? So same would go for all kinds of like big choppers, and there's lots of large knives that wouldn't be super well suited for gutting out a deer. But the knives I showed, along with tons and tons of other knives, will all do the trick. And I hope myself to make use of one of those knives in the next week and a half or so to get that job done myself. And I hope that you guys watching, if you're into that kind of thing, will do the same. I'm going to throw in just a different variety of knives to wrap things up here. If you're really concerned about edge retention, that might be something to pay attention to once you get to the part where you're boning out the deer at home. I have I have helped a guy skin a deer one time where he literally had to stop every 5 minutes and resharpen his knife. And I got so frustrated, and I was like, dude, you have got to throw that stupid knife away and get something better. Or better yet, get a Havalon knife where when the blade, if you really can't sharpen or have no interest or no ability, throw that blade away and switch out to a new one like you would with an Olfa knife on a job site. So there you go, guys. That's my take on knives for gutting a deer or having with you in the woods. I'm not a big folder guy for that job. I'll have a folder with me, as I say, but I'll have a nice fixed blade, and that's what I'll use to clean things up. And what I like to do is that very first day, I usually eat the heart wrapped in bacon. That's always delicious. Depending on what happens, I may, there's a buddy I usually hunt with, and we'll split the tenderloins right away, and that'll be about it. So there you go. That's my little discussion about knives for hunting. If you're hunting different game, if you need a bird and trout knife or something like that, that's different. There are specific knives for that purpose. And again, be aware that you don't have to spend stupid amounts of money to get a knife that'll do the job. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Don't forget to check those channel sponsors. That does help the channel a whole lot. Again, we'll talk to you later.